Θεοφιλέστατε, σεβαστοί πατέρες,
Your Graces, distinguished fathers, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, we would like to profusely thank the organizing committee for accepting the proposal of our contribution, and we'd like to congratulate you on the initiative to organize such a conference that broaches many an important topic, not only for the world of theology, but also for law. With Ioannis Kastanas, we have chosen to talk about artificial intelligence and code of ethics in church, topical matters and modern challenges. We take part in a European program that focuses on safety and protection in places of worship. It is called Shrine, and from the viewpoint of a person of law, focusing on religion and how this is managed by the state, we would like to touch upon certain issues that we hope you theologians will elaborate on. First of all, when we try to manage the phenomenon of religion and when we are faced with legal matters related to religion, our first question is what is religion? What is religious? And why is this of great importance? It is of great importance because what the state will characterize as religious will be subject to protection, because there is religious liberty. And when we talk about the use of new technologies and take it a step further to talk about AI, what are the questions that will be called upon to answer? We have a church, for instance, which is called the Church of Artificial Intelligence. It happened one engineer of Google had built a church of artificial intelligence and he called it the way of the future, and he closed it afterwards. Of course, we'll be faced with a similar phenomenon in the future. What are we to do legal-wise? Is this a religion? Is it religious? Can it actually assume the size of a religion? Can it be licensed? Can it fall under the provisions for religious liberty? This is a very important matter. Last year, for instance, in Germany, in an evangelical church, the Sunday sermon had taken place through chat box. They had a preacher which was an avatar, and afterwards it was said that it was devoid of emotion, etc. Here we have matters of a religious nature and legal nature. Are we to characterize this as a church? How is it that society perceives this, and how is that people of faith see that? Because the state will acknowledge and protect religious communities, but first and foremost will try to satisfy the right of citizens to effectively participate in religious worship. What do we mean by effective? We mean that we need to tackle all these problems. What is important here is that all these matters related to new technologies and AI emanate from European public policies that need to be implemented in a uniform manner by the Church as well. As you very well know, in Greece, it is the Orthodox Church that is the prevalent church. There are more than 9,000 public entities, and we have the question of whether or not the European public policy should be implemented, GDPR, AI Act, and what are the preconditions? Here we have challenges. Challenge number one, let us step away from whether or not the church practices public power. It doesn't. Only in a few cases does it do this, because the church is not tantamount to the state. It has no state authority. It caters for practical religious purposes. And whether it should implement AI Act uniformly or not is a matter in question. Worship and the digital transition of public administration. During the COVID pandemic, we saw in America that Lutheran churches adopted the digital-only church practice. That is, they had participation in church only digitally. You can Google it if you want to see how you can set up your own digital church. I suppose this paradigm will come to Greece. There are some religious minorities here in Greece that use digital means in order to worship, and it's not regulated as yet. That which is called the digital space. Of course, it has nothing to do with the Orthodox Church, because communion is key in the Orthodox Church. and I stand corrected, I don't believe that the Orthodox Church could ever reach the point of worshipping digitally alone. But the concept of digitalization can help ecclesiastical administration to a great extent, because there are digital documents, administrative acts, marriages, christenings. Talking about bureaucracy and administration, digitalization has been practiced. Safety is another issue. The Orthodox Church has many cases of violence and vandalism every year. In the latest report of the General Secretariat for Religion regarding cases and incidents of violence in places of worship that was published a few months ago, in 2022, we had more than 500 such incidents in the Orthodox Church. So perhaps the new technologies or AI could also help the Orthodox Church in that respect. We need to separate those things. It's one thing to see what a religious minority does. For example, they may say that I'll use the Zoom platform for the Sunday sermon, and it's another thing to oblige other churches whose character and identity are different to use these practices. The status quo in the Greek Church, I have to tell you that there is a self-regulation for internal matters. The Church issues regulations published in the government gazette. It has its own rules of procedure and uses digital means to generate administrative documents, and uses, of course, the 4727/2020 law. We needn't elaborate on that. And in the General Secretariat for Religion, there is a digital registry comprising all religious officials of all minorities, and of course Orthodox Church priests, etc. The Church has its own digital registry. It has nothing whatsoever to do with worship. It is administrative. It helps public authorities understand who officiates, for instance, and who does not. But this is a use of new technologies that is not related to the essence of worship, but can help a church function more efficiently inside a state. Because let us not forget that every church, every religious community does not exist per se. It exists within the framework of a legislation. Challenge number 2. Safety and protection of places of worship, which is a matter that we've discussed a lot in Europe. What we try to identify are the ethical dilemmas that emanate from all this. For example, in Greece, there are some safety precautions in places of worship that the General Secretariat for Religion has issued. For example, fire protection certificate. Yes, this alludes to safety. The Church needs to protect the congregation against external risks. In Europe, we are talking about using AI and new technologies in order to protect a place of worship against vandalism, against terrorism. In Greece, we only had one in 2018 with Saint Dionysius Areopagus, if you remember. This triggers dilemmas. Why is that? Because in Orthodox Christianity, we have many churches that are historical monuments. How can you have video surveillance installed there? Or how about using a drone? Will it do any good? Will it make a difference for people to effectively worship in a place of worship? There are technologies abroad that adapt themselves to such conditions. There are technologies that respond specifically to the needs of cultural heritage monuments. There are programs that are used for training. They place you in a place of worship, for instance, and they show you how it is that you can function in this space, where the exits should be, what to do in case of a terrorist attack. Now, let us proceed to more theoretical matters. I suppose we could have a code of ethics for the use of artificial intelligence in religions. There could there be a uniform regulatory framework? Could we have one in Europe? No, because in every country, religion is different and it's inextricably combined to its history and culture. For instance, in Greece, the prevalent religion is the Orthodox Church, but the Orthodox religion has been connected very tightly to the foundation of the Greek state. Iosif Androus, as a bishop of the Orthodox Church, was a key figure in the establishment of the new state. For example, we had clergymen who were prime ministers, viceroys, and at the same time Archbishop of Athens and the whole of Greece, as it happened with Damaskinos. So there is a historical background behind all this. Ethical dilemmas that need to be faced. Could the Orthodox Church have a code of ethics for the use of artificial intelligence in its midst? Because slowly and gradually legislation will change. We have a code for digital governance. We have an authority for cybersecurity. After the AI Act, our legislation will change and will need to do something about the systems of AI and designate permitted and not permitted users here in Greece. Could we have such a code? If yes, who should issue this code? The church or the state? And number 3, the legal public entity, personality of the church is of essence. Should it have such a code of ethics alone, or could the state impose a code? No, because the church could have a code of its own and say what the forbidden uses of artificial intelligence are, because the church itself knows its worship, it knows its theology. The state is not obliged to know and cannot know, because there is a different law-generating, law-producing procedure. The canonical law has its own procedure. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the state. So the church knows within the framework of its autonomy, the church itself will need to regulate, not the state, and broach the more specific issues that will lead to our use of artificial intelligence, a use of new technologies, which is to the benefit of the church and
και όχι προς παραβίαση της θρησκευτικής της αυτονομίας και του εσωτερικού της.
Not meant to violate the system or the internal autonomy of the church. Thank you very much.